Chapter 2 Shaping the Bloom. Beams of sunlight shimmer through the glass pane as dust floats through them like flowing water. Birds tweet a repetitive tune, singing aloud, "The sun has risen." I smell something incredible. In an instant, I'm wide awake and sniffing around like a curious hound. It's definitely not fish again, but whatever is cooking is making my stomach scream desperate cries of desire. I need to know what it is. I sit up quickly, slobber running down my chin. "Ho, good morning, young Smith." Forrest sits in front of the fireplace. "You look like you want some bacon." "Bacon?" My voice crackles. "You're kidding me. You don't know bacon." He shakes his head in disbelief. "Ho! Your life changes today, young Smith." Smith. I almost forgot that's my name now. It feels strange to hear him call me it so casually, like it's always been my name, when in fact I've spent most of my life being addressed as kid or boy. I wonder if it will ever feel natural to hear. "Is that what I smell?" I ask keenly. "It's what you're drooling over, more like. Ho! I wipe my sleeve across my face. It's immediately dampened. Oops. "Get yourself up, young Smith, and fix the bedding, would ya?" Forrest stands up from the fireplace, holding a cast iron skillet smoking and popping with grease. "Rule one of being a blacksmith: always clean up after yourself. Ho! He chuckles like usual, but I can tell he meant what he said. I stretch my arm and legs, then pick myself up off the bed and slip on my boots. They're pretty weathered after what they went through on the mountain. I'm honestly surprised they're still intact. Then again, all of my belongings are pretty much in tatters. I attempt to make the bed, but it's pretty sloppy. I'm not used to having only one arm yet. "Don't worry about it, young Smith. Come try yourself some of this delicacy for the ages." Forrest has the table set with a place made up for both of us. I walk over and sit down across from him. He scoops a glob of yellow stuff onto my plate and a few slices of bacon. He does the same to his dish, bows his head at me, then starts devouring everything in sight. I poke the yellow glob with my finger. It's moist and spongy. I pick off a small piece and chew it up. It's not half bad. Next, I grab a piece of bacon and stuff it in my mouth. My teeth crunch down on the crispy edges and my taste buds explode with flavor. This may be the greatest thing I've ever experienced. "Oh, if only I could capture your face right now, laddie. You're gonna make me choke." "Chewing might help," I say quietly. Forrest stops laughing, falls completely still, and cocks his head to the side. He looks me up and down, then stares me in my eyes. "Ho! He sends food flying in a fit of laughter. "You got a sense of humor, young Smith. You'll do just fine." My mouth curls up a little bit, and a small smile rests itself along my face. I hurry up and scarf down all the food in front of me. Then Forrest shows me how he cleans his plate off as soon as he's done eating, and puts it back where he got it. He's very meticulous about how he does things, and expects me to do the same. "Okay, young Smith, we've got some errands to run, and I figure you can get yourself acquainted with the village a bit." Forrest pats my back. "And I get to show off me new apprentice. Ho! Ring-a-ding." Boris squeezes through the door and motions to follow him. I walk outside. I step onto a cobblestone street with the sun beating down from above. I raise my arm in front of my eyes for a few moments and proceed to peer down the road at all the buildings. Some small, others large, and a few are absolutely humongous. There are a bunch of people bustling about, going into various shops and talking amongst themselves. It's overwhelming. Don't worry, young Smith. Just stick with me. I get closer to Voris as he begins walking down the street. We pass by stables with horses for sale and vendors peddling their wares on the street side. Some offering jewelry, while others fresh produce, and even magical crystals. Loose dogs roam around, sniffing out food scraps, and children run and scream joyous shouts. Different kinds of birds fly overhead, squawking at the ants scattering across cobblestone paths. Men and women of all shapes and sizes, no two dressed completely alike, swarm outside of one of the larger buildings. Don't get lost, laddie. He looks back briefly, then heads directly into the crowd of people. I fill the gap between myself and Voris as much as possible without bumping against him. I've never seen this many people all together like this. I can't make out a single word any one person is saying. The chatter spins my head in circles. I just need to focus on following Voris and block out the sound. I pick a spot on the back of his head and stare at it, keeping his pace. Just then, he ducks under a swinging sign that says, Twins Tavern, and pushes through a double-door entrance. Voris! A crowd of people cheer out ecstatic. Ho-ho! Voris smiles big as ever and does a little bow. We continue into the dimly lit building, filled with an array of tables and chairs, mostly occupied with groups of people. The chatter echoes louder and louder with every step. Voris comes to a standstill against a bar about chest high. There are tall stools lined against it. Standing on the other side, smiling at Voris, is a strange, spiky-haired man with a handlebar mustache, wearing a long white apron. Voris, the man exclaims. The regular for you. And who's this young one you brought in here? Ho ho, this here's been... The strange man slams down a flagon of ale, interrupting Voris. No matter. He hunches himself to my eye level. So, what'll it be? I look back at him with a confused face and remain silent. What's with the look? The man gets agitated. And why aren't you saying anything? You come to a tavern and don't order a drink? Toro, enough pestering. Just then, another man pops up from behind the counter with his hands on his hips. He looks identical to the one harassing me about getting a drink. His outfit, hair, facial features, and build are all completely the same. I can't tell one from the other. You can lead a lad to a tavern, but you can't make him drink. The duplicate shakes his head. Even their voices are the same. Voris, are you well? Then who's the boy? Laurel. There you are. I was wondering when you'd turn up. I'm doing swell, and this laddie here is young Smith. He's training to be me new apprentice. Voris smiles wide, then swigs from his flagon. In one gulp, it's half empty. Meanwhile, I have 4 of the same eyes staring down at my missing limb. I drop my head and look at my feet. This is uncomfortable. I guess I can't blame them, though. It was my first thought as well, and something I haven't fully wrapped my head around either. Well, don't go judging the lad, Forrest shouts, and the room falls silent. The stars brought us together. You wouldn't go questioning a man's destiny, now would ya? I look up. Both Toro and Laura are shaking their heads rapidly, almost in unison. Everyone in the room is looking in our direction, waiting to see what happens next. I'm surprised Voris caused such a scene to make these two stop staring. Voris chugs down the other half of his ale and hollers out, "Bard! Would you kindly lighten the mood with a song?" Just then, unfamiliar notes and sounds ring out across the entire room, and someone begins singing. "Oh, there once was a man who crossed the land, filled with honor, pride, and valor. He slashed and slammed a beautiful dance, fighting petty squabbles for power." Suddenly, everyone in the tavern joins in to shout, "Hooray! Hurrah! Chivalrous knights abound! Hooray! Hurrah! Chivalrous knights abound!" Back to only the man making the sounds. "Oh, he wields a blade that became the bane. To his enemies they shiver and cower, shining a ray through skies of gray, leaving his ideals to bloom like a flower." Again the crowd joins in, adding voices of every tone. "Hooray! Hurrah! Chivalrous knights abound! Hooray! Hurrah! Chivalrous knights abound!" Everyone in the building starts laughing and clinking their mugs together in a lively manner. Some of the groups of people are holding on to each other and kicking their legs out, while others pound on the tables and bar. I've never felt so much energy in a room before. It was amazing to see so many faces smiling and being part of something together. The bard finishes playing off a few notes and begins laughing himself. I smile. "Ho ho!" Voris smacks my back 3 times. "You never heard music before either, have you, young smith?" I shake my head. "I got a feeling you'll know more songs than me in no time." He chuckles. "Thanks for the ale, lads. We got more to do. Be seeing ya." Forrest bows to the twins, then turns to walk out of the double doors. I follow closely behind. We make our way back down the cobblestone street. All sorts of aromas fill the air with every passing breeze, new, old, musky, and sweet. We turn down a narrow pathway between 2 buildings. The sounds of conversation slowly fade out of existence as we continue onwards. I look down and watch my leg take the final step out of the sunlight, chasing us into the shadows. "Don't worry, young smith," Forrest says without looking in my direction. He comes to a halt in front of a creepy wooden door, then knocks in a pattern. "Forrest? I'd recognize those hands anywhere." A woman's voice comes through the other side of the door. "Ho ho! Well, why don't you let me in?" "Who's the boy?" she asks concerningly. "Well, me new apprentice, of course." There are a few clicks and sliding sounds, then the creepy door cracks slightly open. Forrest grabs a hold of the top and pulls it open the rest of the way. He tilts his head, telling me to go in. I step into the dark room. Forrest follows me in and shuts the door behind him, clicking and sliding just as before. He finishes up and walks in front of me. As soon as he passes, candles and lanterns all over the blank space light themselves at the same time, revealing an older woman sitting behind a desk. "I see why you brought him here." The woman stares at Forrest with her hands held together. "Ho ho! I knew you would." Forrest steps to her desk. I look around. There are shelves covering every section of the walls. They're all filled with random-looking objects and things that I couldn't begin imagining their use. Various items and tools lay scattered across the floor along with papers scribbled with sketches. What is this place? "Have you told him?" she asked discerningly. "No." Forrest sounds like a kid in trouble. The woman sighs. "Come here, boy." I walk over and stand in front of her. The The woman peers into my soul. What is your name? I pause to think briefly. Smith. She glares at Voris, rolls her eyes, exhales deeply, and shakes her head. I'm Nita. It's a pleasure to meet you. She gets charming all of a sudden. This knucklehead didn't tell you a word about me, did he? I shake my head. You're a quiet one, and judging by the look on your face, you haven't ever met a tinkerer before. Her voice is softer than pelt. I've spent most of my winters experimenting with any little thing I could get my hands on. As a youngling, it started with putting together knickknacks as gifts, until one day I began designing little inventions in hopes of making life easier. She holds out the palms of her hands and looks around at the bursting shelves. When I showed my work to my family, they destroyed what I had made, telling me I would be burned at the stake for such things. I despised them for it, until I finally found out for myself what some folk will do for their beliefs. Nita frowns. I've been run out of so many villages by people who wanted me dead, all because of the tools I create. She looks into my eyes. I can see the pain she's endured. I can feel that you have a kind heart, Smith, and I believe I have something that may be of great use to you. But I must know beforehand. Can I trust you to keep my whereabouts a secret? I wouldn't want to bring harm to her in any way possible. She seems sweet and has the intent of helping others. Plus, Voris seems to have a strong relationship with her, and if I plan on sticking around, I probably shouldn't cause problems. I'm also fairly curious what she could have for me. Yes. I knew Voris wouldn't bring a bad egg around here. She smiles. I'm sure you're curious, so I'll stop the suspense. Nita opens a drawer from her desk and pulls something out. I made this a long time ago, for someone else. Unfortunately, they never got to see the finished product and try it for themselves. Her lips quiver. So it sat on this desk, nearly forgotten about, until now. She places what looks like an arm on top of the desk. I designed this myself, and with the help of Voris's master smithing, it became real. She glances at Voris, then back at me. And what luck. You're missing your left one. I told you it's fate, young Smith. Too many things align. Ho ho! I stare at the arm lying before me. Small pieces of steel and wood line the shaping. Within, I see intricate mechanisms spanning the entire mass. It's as if I were looking at a metal skeleton that has all of the muscle tissue, tendons, and veins a human would have. It's kind of freaking me out, but I can't look away. Well, don't be shy. Nita stands up. Want to try it? I continue burning a hole into it with my line of sight. Yeah there, young Smith. Voris pats my back, snapping me out of my daze. It works? Oh, of course it does, young lad. Voris pauses, scratches his scalp, and looks at Nita. I'm pretty sure, at least. Nita grabs the arm from the table and clonks Voris on the top of the head with the hand. You know it works, you dope. She slides her way around the desk. I had to put it in that drawer so you'd stop messing around with it. Ho ho! That bump you gave me did the trick. I remember now. Give it here. Nita is at my left side now. She's shorter than me. Her skin is wrinkled and her hair sits in a giant gray bun. There appears to be 2 sewing needles sticking out of the lump of hair. She wears an unusual garment. I think it's made of wolf pelt, with some of the thicker fur circling her neck. It's a beautiful white that stretches all the way down to her ankles, and scattered randomly across it are different sized pouches sewn on. She probably made it herself. Now, you may feel a little pinch, but it won't hurt. I promise. She smiles brightly. I trust her. Then, once you're accustomed with it, I'll add the finishing touch. Smith. Nita fastens the arm around my stub, sitting perfectly where my elbow belongs. I close my eyes. Smack. There's a pinch comparable to a bee sting, and then I can feel it. I slowly bend the knuckles, starting from the pinky, and make my way to the thumb, eventually clenching the full fist. It's like moving my real hand. No effort. Nothing's different. It's almost natural. I open my eyes and look at the clenched steel fist connected to my body. It's unbelievable. So, Voris asks in suspense, what do you think, young Smith? It's... I search for the words to describe this feeling. Surreal. Ho ho, you hear that, Nita? He giggles like a giddy child. All of our work was worth it after all. Ho ho! Nita shuts her eyes and sighs a breath of relief. It can be removed as easily as it was attached, Smith. I advise you don't walk around the village showing it off. What Voris surely is doing with you. Oh, you know me too well, he chuckles. Let me show you how to detach it. She grabs the base next to my upper arm, twists and pulls. See? Simple. Just like that. Something I never thought possible is given to me, and stripped away again. Nita takes the arm back to her desk, reaches into one of her pouches and pulls out leather scraps and twine, then grabs a needle from her hair. She begins sewing the leather to the outside of the arm, covering it from the fingertips to the elbow. I walk around looking at her other strange inventions lying dusty on the shelves while we wait. There are so many, I wouldn't be able to count them if I tried. There. Nita sounds pleased. An arm fit for a blacksmith. I covered the inner workings with a nice fire-resistant leather for you, since you'll be working with such high temperatures so frequently. Ho ho, you think of everything, don't ya? Forrest praises her. Thank you kindly, Nita. The lad will take good care of it, won't you, young Smith? I rejoin them at the desk. Yes. I keep hearing Voris say this, so I mimic. Thank you. Ho ho! Now there's a lad with proper decency. Voris grasps my shoulder firmly. We got one more stop to make before sundown. Young Smith here needs some new, well, everything. We turn and walk to the creepy door while Voris unlocks it, Nita says from behind. Take care now, and return whenever you please, Smith. The door pops open, letting a flickering seam of light escape through the gap. Voris opens it and shimmies through. I follow his lead back into the shaded path. He holds the door closed until the clicking and sliding stop on the other side, then we step our way to the lit cobblestone street. We make one more stop before heading back to the cottage, where Voris buys me a new bastion shirt, braves, and boots. Ho ho, you really are starting to fit the part, young Smith. You're just missing one thing. Forrest puts a black leather apron around my neck. No, that's a blacksmith, lad.